Hello everybody, my name is Josh McNamara, and today I will be talking to you about my current event project, which I chose to do the Boy Scouts of America filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and start with the summary real quick. The who is obviously the Boy Scouts of America. The what happened was the Boy Scouts of America filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This happened on Tuesday, February 18th, where I don't know the exact court room that this was filed in. I do know that the headquarters is in Irving, Texas, so I would assume a courthouse in Texas, but I don't know for sure. Why this happened? The Boy Scouts of America are filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy to help pay off thousands of sexual abuse victims that have spoken out recently. Recently, thousands of men have come out to say that they were sexually abused during their time in Scouts. There's thousands upon thousands that have claimed this, and right now they're just trying to figure out how they're going to be able to pay for the damages to them right now. How this happened, it was filed through the court system. And so what does this mean for us? This raises a ton of questions about the status of the organization. Like I said, there's a lot of miscommunication of what this actually means. A lot of people think that they're officially bankrupt, but they have no money, which is not the case. And this also brings about validity and trust for the Scouts today and years to come. A lot of the articles and sources I've looked into talk about this a lot, saying, is this still happening today? How can we trust Scouts today and Scout leaders, as well as the years to come? Like, if it's still happening, what are we going to do about it now? And that's a lot of what the sources I picked today talk about more than the actual event. I thought it was very interesting, and I think it's a very good thing to talk about because that is a big point to this whole event actually happening. So I chose 4 sources to talk about today. The first one being the Associated Press. The second one is for this one I picked 2 newspaper and articles to work with here. I chose the Dallas Observer because I wanted to pick one closer to the actual headquarters. I wanted to see how they took the information, how they presented it to the people that lived closer to the actual headquarters and were probably more affected by this. And then compare it to CNN, which is more for a broad audience, not just for the people in Texas. So I wanted to compare their writing styles and also how they took the information and presented it to the public. And then I also chose to take an article from the National Reviews. So the first thing I want to analyze for these sources is the titles and the leads for each one. So starting with the Associated Press, we have the title that reads, Boy Scouts Seek Bankruptcy and Urge Victims to Step Forward. I like this title. It's pretty short to the point, but it does do a good job of explaining what the article is about. While it explains that the Boy Scouts are seeking for bankruptcy, it talks about more of the victims in the article, and I think the title does a good job of showing that this has happened, so now we're going to talk about how the victims can step forward and how they can do that, which goes really well with the lead as well. The lead is a hard lead that is also a summary lead. It summarizes the events that happened to lead up to the bankruptcy, even including the thousands of victims that stepped forward, the day it happened, and it goes into a good lead into what the article main focus on, which is about the victims. And I think it's a really good lead, a good summary lead to catch up people and readers, and then go into what the actual article would be about. So I think it's a strong lead, so a good title and a strong lead. So the next one I have is the Dallas Observer, which is a very interesting title. Is why I actually chose this one is because I had a very interesting experience with the title and lead. So the title reads, After Bankruptcy, Will Boy Scouts of America Live On? It's a question title, which is very interesting. We talked about how dangerous leads, one is a question lead, and I would think that would apply to the title as well, because you're supposed to be answering the question, and with this, it just brings up a lot of questions that I don't think can be answered at this time. As much as the article does try to answer this question, I don't think this was a good title because you can't specifically say how this is going to happen. It's an open-ended question, so I didn't really care for the title, but the lead was very interesting. It's a soft lead. It's a scene setter lead, I would say, because it sets the scene in Camp Wisdom, which is in Texas, really close to where the actual Boy Scouts of America headquarters is. And I really like this lead. It's a good scene setter. It puts you in the framework of where it is very, very well as the activities going on, which are just normal Boy Scout activities. And I really liked it. As much as I didn't really care for the title, I thought the lead was really good, and it leads off right into an interview, or I should say a quote, with Shuford very, very well. So I like the lead. I think it's a really good lead. The title, though, I think the question is just way too open-ended, and it doesn't, and you can't, as much as the article does try, you can't put an answer to that. You don't know if the Boy Scouts will, or if they will just stop the organization, you don't know the exact answer. So the title is not really the best, but I think the lead's a very strong soft lead, one of the better soft leads I've read as of recent. My third source is CNN, and their title and lead are what I would call a very, very standard title and lead. The title reads, Boy Scouts of America file for bankruptcy. Hundreds of sexual abuse lawsuits are now on hold. Very straightforward, to the point. Again, like the Associated Press, starts with the word Boy Scouts, but I thought, would get the attention of if you are involved or interested. It tells you exactly what they're looking for, so I like that. And it goes off into, just like the Associated Press, where it already tells you what the event happened. Here's what the article is going to touch upon, which is the 100 sexual abuse lawsuits on hold. And it really does do that really well. I think it tells you, as a title, you know this, but here's what's happening right now, and I like that. As far as the lead goes, it's a hard lead, and it summarizes the events as well as gives a little more information than the Associated Press. It does a lot more statistics, which have been verified, and I don't know what to really express about this. I like that it has more statistics, but as a lead, it does a good job summarizing. It summarizes very quickly what the event is and goes straight into, the victims, which I think is a good thing for this article. I would recommend a little more summary just because it is very, very brief. But I would like a little more summary just in case for a reader who doesn't know when exactly this happened or exactly why this has happened. So I think they're both standard lead, standard title, just with a little bit more summary for the lead. And last but not least, my fourth source is going to be National Review. Pretty straightforward title and lead here. They're both, we've seen these before, straightforward to the point. The title leads, Boy Scouts of America file for bankruptcy after string of sexual assault suits. We've seen this pretty common amongst the Associated Press and CNN. This is that they're focusing more on the actual assault cases. The lead's a hard summary lead. I think this does do a little bit better than CNN because it does a lot more in the summary department. It summarizes not only what happened, but how certain events led up to the actual filing. So I liked it as a summary lead because I felt like I had more information about the actual event than from CNN, which had more statistics on the actual victims of it. So I had to give credit for it. It was definitely a good summary lead. I don't know if I would say it's better than CNN's, but it definitely does the job it needs to do, and it does it really well. So my next analysis that I wanted to talk about was accuracy. Or I should say I want to analyze the accuracy of each one. So for the Associated Press that you see on the screen here, there aren't any hyperlinks, which I thought was a bit weird, but there is no hyperlinks, so there is no outside sources. But the information in this article, I have cross-referenced with other credible sources like New York Times, some more CNN articles, and other outlets. So the information here is valid, and you can honestly search it and find in other platforms as well. They also do a good job of crediting their sources and all their people they've talked to and interviewed in here. You can look them up as well. So still a very credible source. So for the Dallas Observer, I thought it was also interesting. There are no hyperlinks in this article as well. For the Dallas Observer, they were more taking it into account for audiences that are already there. So they probably already know what's going on. I mean, when I say there, I mean near the headquarters. So they probably know what's going on. You can see they have some also referencing from New York Times and other credible sources, which I have also looked up some of these facts that you can find on other sources such as New York Times and other things like that. So I'm okay with this one not having hyperlinks. I think the audience would know mostly of what's going on and don't really need to catch up or need to know new information because they probably have already been caught up. Now for the CNN source, we have a bit of hyperlinks here. There's a total of 11 here. I'm going to go ahead and put my mouse on a couple here. There are some hyperlinks here. They all lead to other credible sources, and they all talk about the certain things they're talking about here. So a lot of good hyperlinks here that I think honestly help readers to catch up or to understand better what's going on and how this impacts the story. Again, all these are credible sources, and all this information is also credible. So a really good credible source. I do like the hyperlinks in this one. I think they enhance the reader's information. They don't deter them from the story or anything like that. They definitely enhance the reader's experience reading through the story. And lastly, for the National Review, we do have a few hyperlinks here. Only 5 in total. It's fine because the last one at the bottom, as you see here, leads to a video. All these go into more credible sources. Like we see here again, New York Times is referenced as well. Still good use of hyperlinks and still credible sources. Still a credible article. And the last thing I wanted to analyze was visual and multimedia within these sources. Going to go ahead and quickly go through the Associated Press. There is none. Don't think it's a bad thing. This is definitely more for information, and I don't think they needed pictures or any visual media as well. For the other sources, we do get some visual and multimedia. For the Dallas Observer, there's only one source of this, which is going to be this picture of Camp Wisdom's entrance. And I kind of like this picture. It helps with the scene setter lead that we have in this article. I think it does it pretty well. I think it does a good job with what it does. I would like another picture of maybe the tug of war, or maybe just of camping around the area in general. But I think as for what they have, the picture does its purpose. It helps with the lead, and I think it's a good picture to have. So CNN had a couple of visual media items here. We have a picture over here of the actual reading of the Boy Scouts open letter to the victims of the abuse. That's a picture for you right there. So I'm playing for you the video that is on the CNN article right now. They have one video, which is this one, which goes into more information about the statistics. Like I said, it's a very statistical, just like for the lead with the lost stats, the video also pertains to that as well. I think it was a good fit for the article. I don't think it sticks out. I think it definitely enhances the reader's knowledge of the article as well. And last but not least, we have the National Review, which has one of my favorite pictures of all four sources. We have this picture here of Boy Scouts saluting. I really like this picture. It's very hard to believe that this is happening to this kind of organization with this picture here. Seeing these young kids saluting, smiling, having a good time. To hear about all this happening right now is really hard to hear for this organization. I think this picture illustrates, just how important it is to keep these kids safe, as well as like how dire the situation is for this actual organization. So for video, they have one video in the National Review, which is this video here. There is no dialogue. It's all talked about in text, which is fine. I prefer some dialogue, but honestly, I don't mind reading this text as well. You can see they have a lot of stuff going on in the background that doesn't necessarily pertain. I mean, they definitely show the person everywhere in there, but there's also, of course, stressing their beliefs and stuff like that through the video. In conclusion, I liked all four articles. I think they did a good job of explaining the event, as well as moving past, what's going to happen and how they can help people that have already been affected by the event. Of the articles, my favorite has to go to CNN, which is unfortunate because I think the Dallas Observer had a really good lead. Not a great title, but a very, very good lead. But CNN, was straight to the point. Very clear lead and a very clear title, and had good pictures and a good video to go along with the article. In fact, they put the video on the top, which led the reader very smoothly into the article, which I really liked. So I have to go with that one as my favorite. I think it was a really enjoyable process to read it because of the video and because of the picture as well. These were all decent articles, though, in my opinion. I really enjoyed reading these ones, but as far as covering the event, I think CNN definitely had the best go at this. And that was my current event project. Thank you for listening.